Today, as an exception, I would like to begin by introducing a method that can provide immediate relief when the urge for a bowel movement is urgent. Senna leaf. Senna leaf, also known as Folium sennae, is not a food but an over-the-counter medicine. However, when constipation is prolonged and urgent relief is required, food alone often takes too long to work. That is why I am presenting it first, before moving on to foods that support bowel movements in the following sections. Senna leaf comes from the plant Cassia senna, a leguminous shrub native to tropical regions such as Africa and India. In classical materia medica texts and pharmacopoeias, it is recorded as a purgative, and in folk medicine, it is also known as sayup. It has been widely used for centuries in India, Southeast Asia, China, and beyond. The main active compounds in senna leaf are sennacides A and B. These pass through the small intestine without being absorbed and travel with water to the colon. There, intestinal bacteria convert them into their active form. These active compounds stimulate immune cells in the colon, prompting the release of prostaglandins. Prostaglandins reduce water absorption by inhibiting water channel proteins in the intestinal wall. At the same time, the active compounds stimulate the enteric nervous plexus, increasing intestinal motility. As a result, water content in the colon increases, stools become softer, and bowel movements are facilitated. In other words, the effect of senna leaf comes from a combination of three actions: bacterial metabolism in the intestine, reduced water absorption, and stimulation of colon motility. Dosages vary slightly depending on the country and the reference. In China and Korea, senna leaf is usually taken in amounts of 1.5 to 3 grams for mild relief, or 5 to 10 grams for stronger effect. In the United States and European pharmacopoeias, dosage is calculated based on sennacides, typically 15 to 30 milligrams, which corresponds to about 1 to 2 grams of raw herb. When converted from the maximum adult dosage listed in commercial products, this equals about 4 grams of raw senna leaf, and in actual clinical use, this amount is often regarded as a standard reference point. Because individual responses vary, it is best to start with a small amount. The ideal dose is the minimum amount that produces 1 bowel movement per day. Some people drink senna tea regularly as though it were a daily beverage. But in actual use, it is better reserved for a single use when urgent relief is required. For non-urgent cases, constipation-relieving foods should be used instead. To prepare, steep senna leaf in hot water for about 5 to 10 minutes. The effect usually appears within 4 to 6 hours. From my own observations, the larger the dose for the same person, the faster the effect appeared. Commercial product inserts often state that the effect appears about 8 to 12 hours after taking sennacides. One important point to stress is that brewing time matters greatly. If steeped for more than 30 minutes, the effectiveness drops significantly. I have even had patients who, despite being told about the importance of timing, left the tea to steep too long. They ended up drinking it after prolonged steeping, and even though they took a large dose, they experienced no bowel movement at all. According to the Mayo Clinic, possible side effects of senna include bloody stools, nausea, vomiting, and abdominal pain, though the frequency of these effects is not well known. If such symptoms occur, medical attention should be sought immediately. From my own observations, The most common side effect was mild and temporary abdominal pain. With prolonged use, however, tolerance and dependence may develop. Although my parents have taken Senna for over 20 years, and my aunt for nearly 40 years without major issues, I do not recommend long-term use. Senna leaf should be used only when even strong constipation-relieving foods fail, and bowel function should afterward be managed primarily with supportive foods. In traditional Eastern medicine, senna leaf is contraindicated for pregnant women and women during menstruation because it may cause uterine contractions. In Western medicine, its use is also discouraged during pregnancy and is contraindicated for children under 2 years of age. Now, let me explain how it is actually taken. Place senna leaf in a cup. Pour in boiling water and steep for about 10 to 15 minutes before drinking. For beginners, about 1 gram is an appropriate starting amount. However, since prolonged steeping significantly reduces its effect, 5 to 10 minutes is best, and more than 30 minutes should be avoided. For convenience, senna leaf can be ground into powder and placed in tea bags. Adding a bit of dried tangerine peel or a few drops of lemon juice improves the flavor. Another method is to grind the leaf finely, mix it with a little rice flour or honey, and form it into small pills. Raw senna leaf can be purchased from herbal shops or online at a relatively low cost. Processed forms, such as senna tea, or over-the-counter medicines containing senosides like senna, Senokot, and X-Lax, are also widely available in pharmacies and online stores. Today, I introduced one method for cases when constipation has lasted a long time, and even strong foods have failed to bring relief. In the next video, I will present the king of fruits for relieving constipation. Thank you for watching.